Hi everyone, I'm Nicholas Tutora. Welcome to Tutora time. So the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians is still raging. And what's really interesting to me is that the Democrats are choosing theocracy over democracy. Yes, that's the fact. You know, there's a saying that people are known by the company they keep. Well, the left is keeping company with the Palestinians. And truthfully, people in the Palestinian territories who want peace are being held victim to Hamas and Hezbollah. On September 11th, they were dancing in the streets in the Palestinian territories when the World Trade Center was brought down.
The V sign for victory being displayed in East Jerusalem today among jubilant Palestinians that the United States had been subject to this attack. What are we to make of that, Jennifer? Yasser Arafat may issue this condemnation. Look at this. We're seeing people applauding, clapping, smiling, happy to know that thousands of Americans have died in this sneak attack, and there you see a V for victory sign.
We have some videotape, I understand, that we're going to show you from the West Bank. These are Palestinian celebrations in the wake of Tuesday's terror attacks in the United States. Apparently, Palestinians took to the street chanting, "God is great." People were throwing candy, distributing candy to passersby.
Over the years, the Palestinians have been offered everything they wanted several times only to turn it down, because the fact is the only thing they're interested in is the destruction of Israel.
It is right to rebel! It is right to rebel! Israel, go to hell! Israel, go to hell! It is right to rebel! It is right to rebel! Israel, go to hell! Israel, go to hell!
So this really baffles me. Why in the United States, that's supposedly a democracy, would people be siding with the Palestinians? Would people be in favor of the establishment of a Palestinian theocratic government as opposed to Israel, which is a democracy? One of the problems that's happening now in Israel during this latest conflict with the Palestinians is that the Arab Israelis are uprising in cities in Israel, and they're fighting Jewish Israelis in the cities. This is a whole new twist, but it also underlines one point, that in Israel, it's not just for Jews. Arabs can live in Israel also. Arabs are in government, Arabs are on the Supreme Court. They hold all kinds of positions throughout the society, same as anybody else. But that doesn't happen in Palestinian territories.
בטח, אני מניח שכן, כן.
לא משנה איזה דת הם?
כן, אדם, בן אדם.
תודה.
האם, English?
No.
אוקיי.
חסידי אומות העולם, האם הם יקבלו עולם הבא? נגיד נוצרי שהוא חי חיים טובים.
אני מקווה, אני לא יודע. אני מאמין שכן.
כמו שיש?
כן, כי יש סדר בעולם, ויש מנהיג לעולם. ומי שעושה טוב יקבל טוב, ומי שעושה רע יקבל רע. אבל אני לא פגשתי את השומר בכניסה, אז
נשאר אותו כשנגיע.
It's just Gentiles.
Yeah.
Do they go to heaven?
I don't know. I think so. I don't know who goes to heaven or not.
But you're religious. Keep up.
Yeah. So as far I think so.
Okay, you've never heard anything? Yes or no?
I've heard of.
Okay, what have you heard?
I've heard that for the righteous Gentiles, there's a place in the world to come. I think it says something like that in the Mishnah in Tractate Avot.
חסידי עולמות העולם.
האם יקבלו אותו גן עדן כמו יהודי?
אבל אני חושב שכן.
זה תלוי איזה דת הוא? נוצרי, מוסלמי, חשוב מה איזה דת?
זה משנה איזה דת? אם מישהו נוצרי או מישהו מוסלמי?
לא.
חסיד עולמות העולם.
אוקיי, האם הם יקבל לעולם הבא? זו השאלה.
I think so.
You think so? אוקיי. אם הם נוצרים, אותו דבר?
זה לא נראה לי משנה לי בקשר לדת שלהם, זה נראה לי בקשר לזה שהם
מישהו שעושה טוב, מעשים טובים.
יש תגמול לדברים טובים.
Nobody ever asked the fundamental underlying question of why can't Jews live in Gaza and the West Bank without military protection? What would happen? What would happen is they would be destroyed, they would be murdered, and everything they owned would be burned to the ground. How could the left be in favor of creating a racist, theocratic society as opposed to a democratic one. I mean, doesn't the left go on all the time about how the United States is systemically racist and our roots are evil and a whole bunch of other nauseating lies like that? Well, if they actually believe that's true, then why are they advocating for a state that is racist by definition? Again, why can't Jews live in the West Bank? Why is the only way to peace is by removing all Jews from Palestinian territories? That sounds pretty racist to me. If in the United States we said the only way we could have peace is by moving all the black people out, or moving all the white people out, or moving all the Hispanic people out, or Asian people out, that would be obviously racist. But yet when the Palestinians want to do it, the left doesn't consider that racist at all. They consider it noble in some ways.
It is right to rebel! It is right to rebel! Israel, go to hell! Israel, go to hell! It is right to rebel! It is right to rebel! Israel, go to hell! Israel, go to hell! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! There is only one solution!
Another thing that's been going on in American society is this whole nonsense about systemic racism and trying to divide people by groups and creating permanent victims. What they're doing there is they are trying to create exactly the kind of situation that there is in the Middle East. People identified by their ethnic group, by their religion, by their class, whatever it may be, and they won't break that identification, and they've been fighting over it with each other for now 75 years in Israel, but forever throughout the Middle East and other regions in the world where people are divided by ethnic group. That is the goal of the left in the United States of America, to divide Americans by race and ethnic group, because then they could keep us permanently fighting. And as long as the people are permanently fighting, the people who are less than honest, who are looking to seize power, can do so. They can use the chaos and the turmoil to create power, just like Yasser Arafat did for the PLO. When he was offered a peace deal with everything he wanted eventually under Bill Clinton's administration, he turned it down. Why? Because if there's no Palestinian terrorist groups, Yasser Arafat loses his power. The same thing now with the leaders of Hamas and Hezbollah and the PA. Abbas, the head of the Palestinian Authority, was elected to a 4-year term back in like 2004, 2007. Now he's going on the 16th year of his 4-year term. They cannot give up power. They don't want to give up power. So you have to answer for that, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ayanna Pressley and Jew hater Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. Why are you supporting a theocracy as opposed to a democracy? You're doing it because you really are enemies of the United States and of America's allies. Israel is a democracy in a region of theocratic dictatorships, and yet the United States is supposed to side with the theocratic dictatorships? Under Donald Trump for 4 years, there was no Palestinian-Israeli violence like this. Trump achieved 3 peace deals between Arab countries and Israel. A lot of people like to say, oh, well, those countries weren't at war. Yes, but it's still a peace deal because he normalized relations, travel, trade, things like that didn't exist before. Also during Trump's presidency, the Palestinians, Hamas, Hezbollah, did not fire rockets into Israel because they knew Donald Trump meant business, because they knew if they did, there would be hell to pay for it. Trump also stopped the funding of the Palestinians, which stopped their rocket attacks. It stopped their ability to buy weapons. But one of the first things Joe Biden did was reinstitute that aid, and immediately they bought up some rockets, about $200 million worth, and they're firing them at Israel.
We're in Ashkelon, just a few miles from the border fence with Gaza, and in the last few minutes, a real ratcheting up once again of the violence here and in Gaza. A few minutes ago, there were multiple rockets flying over our heads, heading up towards Tel Aviv. Hamas had said that they would strike Tel Aviv at 9 o'clock local time this evening, and so they have done just that. Tonight in Tel Aviv, images that change everything in an escalation that has already spiraled so fast. Israel's missile defense systems lighting up the sky as they try to intercept incoming Hamas rockets. 130 of them were fired from Gaza in one barrage. Flights at the international airport were urgently suspended and diverted. Hamas said it was a specific target.
Talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. They always show the map and how Israel gained more land. But Israel gained more land because they were attacked. Every time they were attacked by the Arabs, they had to keep some of the land that they won in the war, because when they give the land back, the Palestinians or the Arabs immediately start firing at them from the land that the Israelis just gave them back. In 2004, the Israelis pulled all settlers out of the Gaza Strip. That didn't create peace. All it did was make Hamas and Hezbollah fire more rockets into Israel. You can't make peace with people who are knowingly trying to murder you and destroy you. Israel has the firepower to obliterate the Palestinian territories in a second, not take down one building carefully or 10 buildings carefully. Israel is trying not to target civilians. They are purposely going after military leaders, and they're very careful. If they were bloodthirsty the way the Palestinians are, they would just launch all their rockets and destroy the Gaza Strip. And you can be guaranteed 100% sure that when Hamas gets nuclear weapons, they'll fire them into Israel. And that leads us to our favorite traitor, Barack Obama, because Barack Obama and Joe Biden are hell-bent on making sure that the United States enters into the Iranian nuclear deal. So they want to give Iran nuclear technology, which is only going to be used for weapons. You have to be an idiot to believe it wouldn't be. What, is Iran suddenly going green? They're sitting on all the oil in the world and they're developing green technologies. Is that some kind of believable story? You think the Ayatollahs are going to be out there riding bicycles soon to save their carbon footprint? You're out of your mind, and you're lying to yourself, and you know it if you believe that. The goal of Iran getting nuclear technology is so they can make a nuclear weapon or funnel that technology to Hamas and Hezbollah to make a handheld nuclear weapon, which then they could launch into Israel. Hamas, Hezbollah gets all their funding from Iran. All their weaponry comes from Iran. And the United States is entering into an agreement with the Iranians to give them nuclear technology. How is that not traitorous? Anybody who's part of that deal is a traitor to the United States of America and to our allies. There's no two ways about it. They have been chanting death to America, death to Israel at the end of their prayers in Iran since 1979. But you have a president of the United States who's going to give them nuclear technology? Why would somebody do such a thing? If somebody is chanting death to your family, is the first thing you do find out a way to give them weapons or the technology to create weapons so they can come and destroy you? The whole Iranian nuclear deal is traitorous to the United States, Israel, and also to all of Europe, because Iran is right on Europe's doorstep and they'll be able to hit them with any nuclear weapon they create. There is no equivalency whatsoever between Hamas and Hezbollah, who are terrorist organizations, and the state of Israel. Israel has the firepower to wipe out all the Palestinian territories in one day, but they don't, because they're humane and they're hoping for peace. But believe me, as soon as the terrorist groups, Hamas, Hezbollah, get nuclear weapons, they will be launching them into Israel. Israel goes out of its way to avoid civilian casualties. Palestinians purposely target civilians. The Palestinian leaders hide themselves and their weaponry in schools, hospitals, any place like that that's vulnerable. And they want the Israelis to attack. This way they could say, look at the innocent children or the hospital that the Israelis killed or destroyed. What kind of savage does such a thing? What kind of savage puts their weapons among their children, putting children in harm's way? The kind of people who don't care at all about their children and are just bloodthirsty. And we see this bloodthirsty, hate-filled philosophy coming from the United States Congress, from AOC, Tlaib, Presley, Omar, and they want the destruction of Israel. This is what they're hoping for. This is what they want. They are siding with bloodthirsty killers, and it's time they be held accountable for it. Palestinians purposely target civilians. It's not an accident they're hitting civilians. They're doing it on purpose. You have to be depraved to side with people who would do such a thing. We're fighting back, we're fighting this culture war, and we're fighting for free speech. My Roku station, Live Free TV, has just launched. Go there, download the app. We're building it. It's going to be a hub for free speech, political free speech, political commentary, and also entertainment, because with entertainment today, you don't know what you're going to get, what kind of twisted story you're going to get. And another reason we need Live Free TV is because the cancel culture has canceled all art, and we need to create a platform where free speech and art can flourish. So I'm continuing to be out here fighting back because we're in a culture war, and we're in a real war for America. And truth and liberty and the founding principles of this country have to prevail. If you're enjoying this podcast, subscribe to it. It helps us get more of a presence and create more of a buzz around our station and create momentum. Like the videos, because that helps to push them out so more people get to see them. And click the notification bell so you can stay informed of all our latest updates. And share these on websites and share them with friends and family. And also share it with people who you know are not going to like the message, because those are the people we really need to get to. We need to change the minds of some people on the fence. Well, we're going to keep fighting, and we've only just begun. I'm Nicholas Tutora. I'll talk to you again soon on Tutora Time.